Good afternoon to all. I was browsing through the different topics, and I guess my co-speakers for this afternoon would agree that this is probably one of the most difficult topic to discuss. And we are going to discuss it for 10 minutes. So please do bear with us, and I hope that we will do justice to the topic for 10 minutes. I was looking around the crowd. Sorry to all my co-speakers, I have a captured audience. Our DepEd family from Region 3. Of course, our DepEd family from Region 9. And of course, coming from the other regions in the department. Sustaining 21st century education, overcoming our education divide. I will have my own timer here. It is quite difficult to imagine and comprehend that while we are talking about 21st century education, the reality remains that many of our young learners are either not in school, getting out of school, or in most cases, having difficulty in going to school. The challenge of the 21st century is not only to live by the way how our learners should learn, but the challenge is first to make them enjoy the opportunity of learning. We were all overwhelmed by the data on how many drug addicts are there in the Philippines. We are all overwhelmed of how many teenagers who got pregnant every year. Data says that the youngest of which is a grade 4 student, 10 years old. And that is in Region 3. We are also overwhelmed with the numbers of how many lost young souls are committing suicide. Many of them have lost faith in themselves because we forgot to teach them to believe in what they can do. Probably as educators, we are more focused on how to teach them on what they should be rather than what they want to be. It is for the reason I hope this presentation would give you a different perspective of sustaining 21st century education in our schools in the context of recognizing that divide and hopefully overcoming it. Using systems thinking, we do not only identify the education divide faced by our education system, but also gives us a broader perspective on how this divide impacts the society as a whole. To illustrate this, I have on the screen the model which I developed when I was undergoing my fellowship program at the Asian Institute of Management. It's a fellowship program on bridging leadership. In the model, we can see that it encompasses the moral, social, and economic dimensions of the society, and the variables therein run through a vicious cycle of failures within the system. In the moral dimension of this framework, we realize that as there are more children that are deprived of the opportunity to be educated, the more we see of them in the streets, and many of whom end up in the other side of the law. As crime rate rises and conflict arises, peace in order is the ultimate victim. Moreover, societal values tend to deteriorate as these individuals eventually raise their own families. Looking at the social dimension of the impact of this divide to our society, we underscore the importance of educating our children with the rights and ensuring these are protected under the laws of our institution. If not, they become impoverished and enslaved by the moneyed and the powerful. Economically, many of these children who are not in school become victims of child labor and innocently contributing to the low level of productivity of our economy. The model actually tells us not only how education can impact society as a whole, but also help us in convincing our various stakeholders, both internal and external, to have a sense of ownership of this divide. In the principle of bridging leadership, it is only through genuine ownership and co-ownership that we get to realize co-creation and come up with new institutional arrangements that will provide relevant interventions to address this divide. Obviously, the victims of this education divide are the children. Unless we do something about it and focus our resources to improve the quality and accessibility of education and providing better opportunities to all children and adult learners, the vicious cycle of education system failure persists. On the other hand, as we put more learners in school and give them relevant education, we improve on our chances to create a better society, one that embodies social justice, equal economic opportunities, and moral ascendancy. Thus, we should closely examine our school system as the focal point of addressing this educational divide. The critical question that needs to be answered is, are we putting enough resources to provide quality and accessible education? Do resources for school being optimized to improve instruction and ensure continuous improvement of the learning environment? It is imperative that we again endeavor to strengthen school-based management as the mechanism to ensure that school heads and teachers have better disposition in desiring for a more relevant classroom instruction, and that the school itself is a part of a larger learning community that embraces a culture of continuous improvement. Making our schools effective and efficient are the keys in sustaining the gains and promise of 21st century education. Effective and efficient schools mean better performing schools with improved learning outcomes. One mechanism that is available to make this possible is through our school-based management system or program. As this was introduced under the Schools First Initiative program of the department and pursuant to the provisions stipulated in Republic Act 9155 or the Enhanced Basic Education Act. Essentially, the key outputs of strengthened school-based management are increased level of instructional decision-making and promotion of culture of continuous improvement. Empowered schools should be anchored on responsive school leadership, conducive learning environment, good governance, and relevant classroom instruction. A school leader who is a bridging leader, one that makes a personal response to his or her own divide and reach out to the stakeholders for collaborative agreements. A school environment that is conducive to teaching and learning, safe, secured, sanitary, community and environment friendly. A school that a school management that is governed not only by rules and regulations, but also with competence and conscience, and where classroom instruction is learner-centered and relevant to the 21st century learners. Obviously, school heads play a critical role in the effective implementation of school-based management. The school head must steer the school and engage the community and stakeholders in continuous school improvement process in order to achieve the desired learning outcomes. The school heads is envisaged to be an instructional leader and an administrative manager. Continuous collaboration should be done in the pursuit of making our schools adept to the challenges and benefits of 21st century education. Though we focus our convergences for resource generation, it is also important that our stakeholders have a deeper understanding on the significance of relevant instruction. Classroom instruction is the embodiment of the curriculum, and this is where learning outcome is contextualized. At the end of the day, the reason why we put our children in school and give them relevant education is for them to have a better life, better than us. Now we know better. They deserve a better future. And this they can have if we prepare them for the challenges of the 21st century life by offering them a different kind of learning anchored on wisdom rather than intelligence, on values instead of rules, on appreciation more than standards. Let us teach our children, above all, to love God and nature, because at the end of the day, when everything is already gone, there is only one thing left to us, and that is our faith. Let us teach them to love their nation and community, because these are the only things that will make them connect the past with the present and do better in the future. Let us teach our children to again love themselves and their families so they can redeem their beliefs on themselves. And with all the stories in their lives, there is always the family who takes care of them. Creativity is the desired outcome of performance, and critical thinking is the way of learning. School is everywhere and everything. Education is everybody's responsibility and accountability. Maraming salamat po.